Welcome to a new Daily Top Askreddit video. Today's topic.
What is the worst feeling ever? That gut-wrenching feeling you get when you realize you fucked up something very badly and you can't fix it anymore. To add to this, screwing up a relationship and being left with the feeling of loneliness and there's nothing you can do to fix it. The loneliness on top of having fucked up is indescribable. I have stress dreams where I feel this. It usually involves me having to get rid of a body. Wanna talk about it? The feeling of total helplessness while watching a loved one die. I stayed by my mom's bedside through her last few days of deteriorating consciousness. Then the death rattle, the agonal breathing, and until she turned cold. Then yellow. Shit changes you on the most fundamental level. This is so true. Death is so glorified on TV. Then when you actually see it, would be horrifying enough without it being your parent. The nurses at the hospice my dad was in were absolute angels guiding us through it, but it scars you. I felt this in the pit of my stomach. For the last 2 years of her life I had to watch helplessly as my wife faded. It came to the end when she was in the ICU in a coma. There was no chance of any quality of life and I had to make the dreaded decision to take her off of life support. It was the worst day of my life, losing my best friend, soulmate, and my wife all at once. The only comfort I get out of it is knowing she's not in pain anymore and that she is with her brother again. My husband had a heart attack at home. When I found him he was grey, sweating, had fixed pupils, agonal breathing. He was transported to a small hospital near our home before being transferred to a larger hospital. He had been without oxygen for too long. Had he even survived he would have been vegetative. I'll never forget the look in the doctor's face before I left to drive to the big hospital. Our son was there too. And then the cardiac team at the big hospital. Everyone looked so grim. They called in the chaplain and told me I needed to make the call to stop resuscitation measures. He had no brain activity and coded several times. There was no chance. As he began to code again I told him to stop. It was immediate. They rushed me to the head of his bed and I held his hand as he quietly passed. He never woke up, never made a sound. Sorry to dump this on you. I guess what I'm trying to say is I understand completely. And being rather young it's hard to find people who know what I've been through. My condolences for your loss. Blue heart. Doom. That diagnosis. That moment when failure is inevitable. The impending breakup. My dad was in a coma for a little over a week before we lost him. And we knew we would be losing him. That's doom and it's the prelude to grief. I hope none of you experience doom. It's like having all of your agency for change stripped away. It's a true sense of powerlessness, and it's traumatizing. That moment when I asked the hospice nurse if this was really real and my mom was actually about to die and she said, "I'm sorry." Yes, I'm so sorry. I hope your mom found some comfort in your presence as she arrived at the clearing at the end of the path. That feeling that you get right after losing a person, pet that you loved so dearly. It's such a hopeless feeling. Like you're reaching out and crying for someone who just minutes before was there. That's the worst feeling ever. I just lost my dog this afternoon to liver cancer. Fucking sucks. Miss him so much. When someone betray your trust when you needed him the most. Heaven has no rage like love to hatred turned. Truth. Heaven has no rage like love to hatred turned. William Congreve. You know that feeling when you just wake up and for a second everything seems okay? Yeah. The feeling right after when you remember everything is, in fact, not okay. I have 4 of the most major upheavals happening simultaneously right now and this is me every morning. Facing homelessness, bankruptcy, health issues and the end of my relationship. Sending some love to you, stranger, and thinking of you this evening. The regret you feel 1 second after saying something really hurtful to someone. Once someone explained their joke to me because I didn't laugh and I told them I got it just wasn't funny and immediately felt like an absolute dick. But maybe you prevented them from telling the dumb joke to others so you did a solid thumbs up light skin tone. When a loved one passes, knowing you'll never physically see or hear them again. Oh God, the pain of waking up from a dream about them and having to remember they're dead all over again. It renews that feeling. I like dreaming about my dad. It does suck in the morning but the feeling I get when I see him in my dream is worth JT. Missing a long-term partner and knowing they don't feel the same way, skeptical smiley face. Yeah, that's kinda what I was thinking. Loving someone who no longer loves you back is so hard. Or knowing that breaking up with them was for their own benefit. Realizing you just sent an email, company-wide, and not only to the original sender. Sent it to packaging at Jan almost everywhere, Tan almost everywhere. Kidney stones. Not being able to breathe. I recently had an 8-hour asthma attack and it was terrifying. Wow, that sounds horrible. Besides the psychological ones, this sounds the worst. It can even sort of scar you psychologically a bit. Any sound of someone gasping or struggling for air. Even just sometimes loud breathing can make me feel like I can't get enough oxygen. Ditto for the sound of snoring. Was just gonna say. Anaphylaxis for the first time. Anhedonia. When doing something you used to enjoy no longer invokes the feelings they once did. Everything I used to enjoy no longer does anything for me. You could chalk this up to depression, but this is a specific feeling that makes me feel empty inside because everything that used to make me smile feels like a chore now. I have ADHD, so I go through this fairly regularly. It's a cycle of hyperfixation. Holding on as long as possible. Then trying to convince myself I still enjoy doing something until I just can't anymore. Eventually I have to just accept I won't enjoy that thing again even if I've spent the past months obsessing over it. But eventually a new fixation develops to take its place and the cycle continues. Yeah, this is so relatable for almost everyone in the ADHD community. The hyperfixation feels great, but I can't trust myself anymore. I can't trust that I'll hold on to something because of all the passions I've had that has faded away. It's really scary and unpredictable for me. Right now I'm into character design and I'd like to believe that this is what I'll settle for and keep grinding to make it my career in the future. But still, I can't fully trust myself.